Hey, everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the Better Humans podcast. This is a podcast that is about leaving humans better than we found them. And today I've got a special honor of bringing on Dr. Brandon Nielsen out of Salt Lake City,
Mhm.
Idaho, or not Idaho, Utah, right?
Yep, Salt Lake City, Utah.
Love that. Okay, very, very good. So, are you in the area because there's a ton of people of similar faith to you, and you're out there for your temple and for your faith and things like that.
Partly. So I've moved around a bit. I started out here. So my parents lived here, and I was born here in Utah, and then we lived here until I was a freshman, and then we moved to Washington State. So
Oh, okay.
my dad is actually from Utah, from a little kind of central Utah, little small town called Moroni, and my mom is actually from Hawaii. They met at BYU, but they just kind of settled here. And I'd say probably a big reason for them was they loved it, and partly from the faith and different things.
Right.
I moved away, so we were in California. I was in California. I met my wife originally up in Idaho at BYUI, and then we decided to live here. I mean, we were going to go to New York, so it's kind of crazy. We started out here, so this is where I re-met her like 9.5 years later, and that's kind of a story in and of itself. I met her at BYUI, dated her roommate a little bit, or I should say went on some dates, and that's how I met my wife, like 9.5 years. So this was probably when I was around like 20, 21, 22. And
Wow.
then I went through, got my first doctorate, and did all the things. I became like Dr. Nielsen. And then we re-met, yeah, almost 10 years later so what's interesting is I had gone to Oregon to help my brother set up his practice. So I helped him start his chiropractic practice, and he was kind of the doctor, I was kind of more business, and I helped him set up everything. And the thing is in Oregon, so I was 30 at the time, and I was like, man, there's not a lot of pickings here. And I wanted to marry someone who was like-minded, who is a Christian, but particularly I was looking for someone I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So there is so many people in Utah, young women of that faith, and I was like, I'm going back to Utah. And it
Yeah.
just so happened I had went to a religion class, and I re-saw my wife, but I just saw her going to that class, and I was like, I remembered her, and we hit it off and started dating. But so I would say she already had a job here, and I loved it here in Utah. But I would say I don't know if it's so much the faith, because it's throughout the whole world why we live here in Utah. I think we love it. We love the people. We love the outdoors. I love playing sports, and I love looking up at the mountains when there's snow on them still.
Yeah.
And so I would say a big part of it is partly because of family, but also maybe a little bit faith, but probably more
Yeah.
family and the outdoors. We love Utah. And I don't want to promote it too much because then more and more people move here. But
Isn't that the worst? So I got a very similar situation up in North Georgia, an undisclosed city in North Georgia that I won't
right,
talk about, but it
right.
feels like everyone and their mother is moving here.
So,
And
so
it's crazy.
I know. So actually, what's crazy is that is one area that we actually like. Well, I love the South. I did some work in the South, and I was, in Tennessee and in Virginia, Southern Virginia, and then my uncle's from South Carolina, and I've always loved just kind of what you'd call the Bible Beltway and just Southern. I just love it, and apparently a lot of people have found out about the South as well. It's like,
Yeah.
so I would say as far as faith goes, it is partly, I think, like-minded people, but because wherever I go, I gravitate towards like-minded people of kind of the Christian community, and they don't have to be members of our church. I love being around Christians. I love talking about Jesus with other people, the Bible and those type of things. And so
He's one of the
it is
best guys
nice.
to talk about.
What's that?
I said he's one of the best guys to talk about.
Right. So like,
Yeah.
like many prophets before, I glory in my Jesus. And so it's phenomenal. So,
Yeah.
so it's partly why we live here, but it's not, I definitely wouldn't say it. I think it's more just, it's the amazing place. It's what we know. She's from Idaho, like I was saying, but I'm from here, and we understand this and we know it. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
pioneer heritage here, but partly because of faith.
I gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a big reason why I live where I live is exactly what you were saying is and it's funny because my wife and I went to go live in Puerto Rico just shy of about 4 months and ended up moving back because it's so hard being away from family and I mean there's obviously a lot of faith in, you know in the islands down there, but like being away from family is really really tough, and especially that community and that those circles. And so I totally get that. Plus, on top of that, I absolutely agree. Like seeing the mountains in Salt Lake City is like the entire place is beautiful. Like there's not, I don't think that there's
Yeah.
really too much of an ugly place around Salt Lake. So I love that.
We love it. We go to the
So,
mountains. We go to the mountains quite a bit. I didn't know you had gone to Puerto Rico though. We went out there. We went to Hawaii for a short little stint. We moved there and we didn't stay long. Like we just didn't feel it was. We got there. We prepared for a year, and we said, "Where in the world?" We were thinking of actually going to Puerto Rico, but we ended up coming back to Utah, and we've just felt
yeah.
right. But who knows? Maybe eventually we'll be neighbors in North Georgia.
Come on down.
You need,
Absolutely.
as long as it's good people, as long as you approve, right? As long
One of the values and virtues of the South down here is you do yours and I'll do mine. And so even if we don't get along in some capacity, which we get along on so many different facets, right? But like you do yours and I'll do mine. That's that's a
yeah,
big value. Hey,
that's
speaking
cool.
of it's not Puerto Rico per se, but I do want to ask you about Costa Rica and your
Oh yeah, Costa
mission.
Rica. Yeah.
Yeah, tell us about what it was like to go to Costa Rica for your mission. And like I know that so like that we have a mutual friend in the marketing world. I'll call him Rusty, but I'm pretty sure he go to like New
Went,
Jersey or
went to
something
New
for his
Jersey.
mission.
Rusty, yeah, Rusty went to New Jersey. Dude, that's
You went to the
hilarious.
beach. That's the best.
No,
That's
yeah,
so
I
good.
went to Costa Rica. So Rusty went to New Jersey, but for sure yeah. So Costa Rica is phenomenal. So I learned to speak Spanish, and
Bueno.
bueno es muy bueno, ¿verdad? Costa Rica is like one of those tropical type paradise. I mean, I love Hawaii. My mom's from Hawaii, like I was saying, but Costa Rica was really cool. So I got to go down there, serve the people of Costa Rica for 2 years. And that's an interesting experience because, we, like before I left, we pay for it. Like the church doesn't pay for it. So when I was in high
Right.
school, I had a lawn business, and I would do like probably around $6,000 to $10,000 ish in, I'd mow for like 6 months. This was up in Washington State, and so I was just saving all that money to go on this mission. And so it's pretty cool because it's fully voluntary, and it's just to spread the good word, right? And just love the people and serve them and help them. And it was tough. It was definitely tough, and you're just
Yeah.
away from your family, and you got a companion always. But it's like one of those things where there's something called eudaimonic and hedonic happiness. And this definitely it's not like a happiness that's like, whoa, this is so fun. Like, I'm away from my family and I'm in a foreign country and I'm eating weird food. But after you go and look back in the 2 years and say, wow, I was a boy and now I'm a man. I can speak with people, and and I can carry on a conversation about Jesus Christ, and I can carry a conversation about hard things of life with families, and even though I don't know the answers, all the answers, because so many people have asked me, what would you do as like a pastor or as a minister, what would you do? Made me ask myself, I don't know, what would I do? Like, how do I answer this question? Like,
Yeah.
Like with Jesus, like, yeah, he died, but why do we worship him why is our Shabbat Sunday instead of Saturday? And, did he really rise from the dead? And all these different things. And then to just serve the people and to see how much, no matter where you're at in the world, we're all humans and we love each other, and people are good. Sometimes we get caught up in like, oh, there's all this bad stuff, but at the core of it all, Jimmy, and I know you know this, is people are good, and we still want to love one another and care for one another. And so it was just kind of like my service of almost like a tithe of my life giving back to the Lord, because I was about a 20-year-old and I gave like 2 years, so it was kind of like
Right.
my 1/10 to God, if you will. And
Yeah. Oh, that's a really nice way of looking at it, actually.
yeah,
I like that.
so
Yeah.
it was phenomenal. The
Hey,
people were amazing, and yeah,
so I was doing some digging, and some
yeah,
people call it digging, and other people call it research.
sure.
And I saw on Facebook a little like anecdote about being in Costa Rica, and it was, you shared a story about a time that I think it was you saw some people, or like heard some people watching the World Cup game, or it
Oh
was a World
yeah.
Cup qualifier,
Oh,
and
yeah, it was the Costa Rica against USA.
yeah.
So
So
what's crazy
I
is
saw
if
what you
you,
said about. Oh, sorry. No, no, no. Go
oh, I
ahead.
was just gonna say, the craziest thing, if you found me on Facebook, that's barely recently. I was literally off Facebook for like 5 years, and just within like a month. So that's, and I didn't know if like things are still there, and they're all still there in stories. And so I don't know what post. I'm guessing it was probably. I think I could kind of remember the World Cup, USA playing Costa Rica. So tell me
Yeah.
more, and then I'll answer
No,
that.
okay, so there's a specific thing that I wanted to ask you about that. So obviously, like, you're an American, you're in Costa Rica. It is the USA team versus Costa Rica team for the qualifier game, and the national anthem comes on. And you tell this story about how you and your partner you were down there with, you both just stop and you both place your hand over your heart and sing your national anthem. And
Yeah.
I thought to myself, I was like, man, I personally, I like reflect, and I'm like, we used to say, like the Pledge of Allegiance every day. If I had to sing the national anthem right now, I probably couldn't. I probably couldn't get past the first like two verses, right?
Uh,
Which makes me a really bad American. But but then I thought about you, and like, you're in this entirely different country, and you take the time to pay respect to your nation. Do you consider yourself a patriot for the United States?
very much, very much. I love Jesus. I love my family, and I love my country. So absolutely, I love. You know, I in the fifth grade there was this teacher. So my teacher was Mrs. Toon. I remember all my teachers, and my fifth grade
Yeah.
teacher was phenomenal. She was one of my favorite. And there was this other guy. There was a guy named Mr. Oldroyd and Mr. Donatic, and it was really interesting. He was very patriotic, and he's like, do you guys want your pictures with, flag with your picture? And I could never understand. He had served, I think, in World War II, and maybe served in the Army or Navy, something. And I couldn't really understand why he loved America so much. I was like, what's your deal? What's your deal, bro? As a fifth grader, why you all loving on America so much? Until I started traveling throughout the world, going to Costa Rica, going to even Europe. I went to Europe and learned Italian just by myself. I bought a one-way ticket. My mom, bless her heart, she thought she was never going to see me again. And I went and learned Italian. And even coming back from Europe, which is not a third world country, all the European
Right.
nations, most of them aren't third world country. we are so blessed to be in America. So yeah, so two young men standing in the streets of Costa Rica singing the national anthem was just, to me, I love America. I love what we stand for and our freedoms, and what, all the people came, the pilgrims and the people who lived here, the indigenous people, and how much everything was such a worship of God, and the freedoms that we have in America. It's remarkable, and how blessed we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing even to see in Costa Rica, like you walk in to a house and it's like a one room house, and it's just tin walls, a tin roof, and dirt floors. I mean, this is the worst of the worst, where some people who are rich have, like, tile floors and different
Right.
things, stucco walls. But yeah, I think one of the biggest reasons why I'm a patriot is because I want to recognize and honor those who went before me. And man, I'm so thankful to them. I'm so thankful for the sacrifice that even my family has gone through to make it great for me. So yeah, am I a patriot? Absolutely. I love America. We're the greatest nation in the world.
I huge fan of that response. I wish there were more people in the United States like you. My follow-up question to that, like kind of depending on how that went, was like, let's say that you've wavered a little bit. I was going to ask you if you still consider yourself a patriot today, but based on that response, I'm pretty sure like you're still pro USA.
Definitely,
Actually, now
definitely.
how how did that, if at all, did it waver as we kind of ventured into 2020 and experienced a lot of that dysfunction across two parties and mandates and government overreach. I think we'll probably both call it overreach, right? Like how did that affect you and your patriotism for the United States?
You know, um, it kind of made me dig my heels in more and be like, "This is our country. You're not gonna mess with our country."
Yeah.
And it made me more like, "Hey, I'm an American, and you can't go and steal this country from what America was based upon." Um, I study businesses. I love the History Channel to like watch businesses and like the different foods that built America, and the different empires that built America. And my favorite entrepreneur is definitely Sam Walton. I love Sam Walton. He's a good old Arkansas boy down in the South, and I
Yeah.
just love. He's my favorite at this point. Um, I just love kind of what he stood for, and it was American values, the ability to be able to say, hey, this is our country. And so for me, what the almost the overreach, as you said, then that's a very nice, kind way to state that. But the overreach awakened me to say, oh, I learned a lot from this. It awakened me to
Yeah.
say, hey, this is our country. Like whose country it is? No, it's not government's country. It's our country. It's the people's country. And that's what makes America so great, is the diversity of people, and how at the end of the day we have differences, but we can come together as Americans. And I think people have forgotten that, and that we are Americans. We still have that one thing in common, whether across the aisle you disagree with me, and we always have. And that's what's great, is there's two main parties here in America, and we get to disagree, but we can work out those disagreements and come together under one common vision. And so for me, I just dug my heels in more, and I think I even became more patriotic because of it.
Love it. That dude. Me too. I wasn't incredibly vocal about it, and it was really tough because at the same time that I wanted to fight and push back, I also had friends and family who struggled with it and suffered with it. It affected my grandmother, and so I think we're we're very much in alignment on that. It was it was tough. But basically in regards and in respect to people that 2020, severely affected. It was very, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Hey, I wanted to, oh, sorry, go real quick, go.
it was an interesting time, and I agree. I wasn't super vocal, and I kept kind of asking, like when I say ask, like I kind of like asking God and like pondering, be more vocal, and it didn't really ever come up that I needed to be more vocal. I just needed to be an example, and that the
Yeah.
people, what happens is usually people kind of, you watch people, we all watch people, and because of it, I think people, they know where I stand, or else they'll ask me, sometimes like people kind of come up to church and I'm like, oh, I see it coming. They'll kind of like duck their head and like be really quiet, almost like a secret. And they'll ask me like,
Yeah.
do you do certain things or what happened? Or, I'm like, and I'll tell them the truth. If people ask me, I'll full on tell them. And that's more than anything. I think standing up was just being myself, being true to myself, and allowing people to see, and then come and ask questions. And that's kind of even more now where it's happened. And I think for a lot of people, people are awakening to the overreach of what happened during those times. So it's
Well,
been,
now we get to just like clap our hands about everything that's happening with not just with the overreach, but the overspend, and now the pendulum swing in the opposite direction. Like, I'm personally very happy.
I'm very
Just
pleased. I'm
and
very
and
pleased. Let's,
I think that's all we have to say about it.
and what Jimmy, what I usually do in these times is I'm kind of like, okay, we've got a wave, a good wave, like take it, run with it, because
Yep.
in the future stuff's going to happen, because it always does. That's history. But it's kind of like, man, let's ride this wave. Let's ride it while it's good. So
Yeah, it's all pendulum swings and cycles. So I want to shift gears here a little
yeah, for
bit.
sure.
I So that we can like maximize the amount of time we have here, I actually
Yeah.
have a very, well, not very selfish, but I have like kind of a selfish question for me. And of course it's going to go out and um help other people that might be in like a situation that I'm in, or maybe someone who is going to be in a situation that I'm in kind of soon. But you are a father of five, right?
Yeah, 5 kids.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll start with my selfish question, and if any other questions boil up, then I'll ask. But my selfish question is, I have one boy right now. He's a year and a half, or probably coming up on a year and 7 months or so.
Okay.
Um, and we've got another boy on the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude,
So
that's
we're
awesome. Another boy. Wow.
Yeah, can you believe it? So we've got probably just under another 3 months until the next baby boy is here. And so um, going from 0 to 1 uh, changed everything. I mean, I'm a completely different human now, it feels like. And I know that I know that it's going to be even more change and transition and discomfort, and even more joy going from 1 to 2. Tell me about your experience of going from 1 to 2, and then if
Yeah.
you want to sprinkle it on top, tell us about 3, 4, and 5.
Okay. So yeah, so it's interesting, especially because you'll have basically 2 kids under the age of 2. And so it's a handful. One of the biggest things for my wife and I, and I'm assuming you want to maybe hear kind of what's worked for us. Is that kind of what?
Worked or didn't work,
Okay.
or
Yeah.
speculation at this point is great, because right now I'm going in blind.
So, so Jimmy, one of the biggest things that my wife and I, especially I would say about 2 kids, because it starts getting pretty darn busy, is we really had to figure out our roles. I can't breastfeed. I can't do certain things that my wife can do, obviously. And so we really started having to figure out our roles. I think before then, sometimes I was almost not trying to step in, but I was trying to be helpful. And, sometimes I'd wake up and different things in the middle of the night, but it's like, it didn't really make sense, and it would throw my workday off. And so what we really had to figure out was what were our roles. That helped tremendously. Like, I was in this case, the provider. Like, I would, I go to work, I'm Dr. Nielsen, I go, and we decided before we got, we were after, but we kind of before we, and even early in marriage, that she was going to stay at home and take care of the kids once we started having kids. She worked up until the time that we were ready to have kids, which was very soon. We wanted to have kids. We couldn't have kids. That's a different story for a while, for about 3 years. But
okay.
So figuring out our roles was super important, that she was mainly taking care of the kids, and I would take care of the kids as much as possible, help out. But my role was to actually go to work and provide. That helped a ton. Because before that, sometimes I'd kind of mess it up, and I'd try to help out, and it'd almost be like, then I would like not do as well at work because I'm tired when I should have been sleeping and getting ready to, go to work. So that was one of the biggest things that helped. So I guess on the flip side of that, what didn't help is when we didn't understand our roles, and what that means. And it doesn't mean that mom is the only one that can take care of kids, no, I've changed plenty of diapers. I help feed, I help do all those things. But establishing a schedule for us as well. Like, so for a certain time, I go from this point to this point, I go to work. So she knows I'm going to be at work. And then she knows when I get home, or when I get home, she asks, can you help out, right, with the kids? So establishing kind of like what are those roles, and how we as men can help out our sweet wives, and then how is wife going to support us so that we can go out and slay the dragon out in the world. Unless those roles are slightly reversed, and that's fine. I'm not saying each family is individual. As far as going from one, like you say, one is a big step. Going to two, what's interesting about that is it's kind of chaos. It is. And because you're going through all that again, now you have a toddler who's getting into things, and then you have a baby who's very needful. So you'll probably need to establish those roles, or how you can help out, or I don't know if your mom or somebody's going to help out, but it can be done. But there's going to, especially because we're talking as guys, you're going to have to realize that there's going to be things that are going to slip. Meaning, let's say if your wife is a great housekeeper and she does great at cleaning, or you guys keep a pretty clean house, you help out with the cleaning, you got to realize, and that's what I had to realize, is the house isn't maybe going to be as clean as you want it. Or I don't know if you guys eat out or if you eat in, but there may be meals that you may have to now eat out a little bit, whereas because things shift now, because now more of the focus is going to be for this new baby, at least for a while, until you kind of figuring out schedules and patterns.
Yeah.
But I think that's one of the biggest things that helped us is realizing, and especially for me, like when I had to babysit the kids, bro, it's so much work. Like there is so much work that goes into just being a mom. And I'm so thankful for my wife and all that she does for our kids, but it's kind of chaotic, and there's a lot of focus again on, you're going to put all your focus and attention on that baby. And one thing that you don't want to do as well is, being a dad now of multiple children, is don't forget that first child. Make sure that they still feel that they're important. In fact, kind of talking more, but just this week, this phrase for my 6-year-old, so she is our 4th child from chronologically. One of the phrases that came into my mind that I needed to tell her was not just that I loved her, but I had this phrase, and I said, her name is Roxy, and I just said, I love you so much, but I want you to know you're so important to me. And that was a phrase, and it was so cute because I've been telling her that since Sunday. not just I love you, but you're so important. And just yesterday, no, actually this morning, she goes, Dad, I'm the most important person in the world, aren't I? Like, because she knows I've been telling her this, right? And she took it a step beyond, and she's like the most important person in the world. And I was like, you are. But so when you have 2 kids or 3 kids or 4 kids or 5 kids, for me, every day it's so important to, number one, make sure that my wife knows that I love her, that I cherish her. Every day I try to make sure I tell her in a different form, whether it's sometimes I tell her I love her, or sometimes I say, man, I'm so in love with you. You know, I'll tell her, or I'll be like, you're my favorite girlfriend. Whatever it is, I tell her in a certain way. Every day I tell her, you know, how much I appreciate her. I'll be like, some days I change it up. Like, just, I think like about last week, I remember this phrase. I said, I'm so thankful that you said yes, you know. I'm so glad that you said yes when I asked you to marry me. And she's like, oh, are you kidding me? You know, or I'll say certain things like, you know, like I'll use different adjectives so she knows I'm thinking. Every day I change it up, and then I'll repeat it sometimes, but I don't ever want her to feel that she's forgotten. Because when you have 2 kids, you know, and even so, like, I still actively pursue my wife. I still date her, right? Because it gets tough as you start having kids and you kind of forget about one another. And that's one thing that, you know, obviously sometimes you can't, but that's something that I try to do. And then connecting with each child and making sure that they, even though there's another child and we're focused on this baby, making sure that they are not forgotten, that they're still important, and that we still spend good time with each of them so that they feel connected. And those are kind of some of the key things that I feel like we've learned along the way. And just be very, I try to be so forgiving, and just try to, a key phrase that I ask my wife, yeah, what can I do to help out? Is there something I can do to help out? You know, like when I'm done, I'm at home. And sometimes she knows when I'm in my office, my home office, she knows when the room's shut. She really tries to respect that and just be with the kids and being there for one another and supporting one another. And I just think, how can I bless my wife's life? What can I do for her to ease her burden without crossing over, like I say, into getting out of my role as the man, as the provider, presider, protector. That's kind of my role. And that's the adopter, and then she's kind of the nurturer. And like I say, in certain families, that's not how it is. I have a buddy, and he stays at home with the kids, and his wife makes all the dough, she makes all the money, and they have it worked out, and they're an amazing couple. So hopefully I don't know if you have any questions on that, but.
No, I think the first thing that popped into my head is we have a couple of whiteboards downstairs that keep our calendar and kind of keep our daily tasks. Now I'm completely rethinking, like, all of the daily tasks, or like the daily non-negotiables that are on that board, are centered around me and the things that I need to do in order to take care of myself. And like, taking care of myself, of course, that's important. But now I'm rethinking everything. Like, okay, we're about to go, like you said, into chaos. And I'm thinking, like, what is a system? So like, it doesn't sound sexy or attractive to be like, well, take my affection and nurturing and put it into a checklist to make sure it gets done. But I think I'd rather still have a checklist to make sure it gets done than to go without it now. So
Yeah, it's when in chaos, like, don't forget your wife, because it will get chaotic. But it's fun. And one other thing too, Jimmy, is we try to still have fun as a couple, but as a family. Like, we have so much fun dancing and singing, and when we go to church, we have fun. And when we you know, my little boy this morning, so I have 2 girls, a boy, and then 2 girls. And my boy, he's 8, and he was asking me the national parks, you know, for a school project. He's like, Dad, what national parks have we been to? And he had a list, and I just started telling him. He's like, oh my goodness, you know, we love to travel and go places together, like Puerto Rico.
Right.
But it was a travel. It wasn't supposed to stay in. So we decided we travel a lot. And even in the chaos, we still take time to do things together. And that's the thing is, like, we don't forget those things. Even with young babies, we still do the things that we love to do. And that was something that we kind of promised to one another, because we'd always see families when they'd start having kids, they would stop doing fun things. And we said, no, we're for sure going to still travel. We're still going to do fun things together. And we do. So.
Yeah, that's great. Like, like I mentioned, it's a selfish question for me. I'm sure other people are going to get a ton of value out of hearing what you said, especially the distinction about I support her from within my lane. That's huge. And I think I need to I really need to think through that and unpack that, because that's what she has been asking for me to come in and have more involvement in, we'll say, like the day-to-day and things that get done around the house. Of course, the default answer is like, yes, of course. And then I'm like, okay, how do I work it in? How do I get it done? Turns out 5 a.m. alarm does wonders for things like that. Like, where am I going to find the time? Oh, I can set the alarm at 5 and make the time, right? But yeah, so I have so much to think about on this, just based on your answer. I might even go back and rewatch this episode just to hear what you say. But that was awesome. It
is interesting when I feel like we struggled just like finding our roles, and it just but we had to come together as on an agreement. And once we kind of agreed, and those roles have shifted a little bit over time. One thing that I still do to this day, and this is I'll always do this, but I tell my kids so that my wife can sleep. Now, because she's not, there's our youngest is 3 years old, but I'll just tell my kids, because I'm fine, I can fall asleep quick. I'll just say, hey, just yell for me, or come into my room. Don't wake up mom, just wake me up. Because before, it didn't make sense. If she was feeding the baby, I couldn't feed the baby. Why would I wake up? It didn't make sense. And so, but now I'm kind of like, our youngest is 3 years old. I'm kind of like, you know what? Just wake me up. Just let mom sleep, and I'm good. And so find those roles. I mean, it's one of the best things that you and I
are similar in that, is because probably the last close to a month or so now, pretty much after I got back from FHL, my wife really needed to sleep, and so my firstborn, his name's James. He just got his own room. I don't know if you're connecting some dots there, but I'm James the third, and he's James the fourth. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's cool. I always thought that was so cool. Sometimes I even wanted to just put like a 3 behind my name, like the third, because my favorite number is 3, and I'm like, that's cool.
I mean, mine's the real deal, because my dad and my grandfather were James, and same full name and everything. But
such a cool name.
So baby James has his own room now, and he sleeps the entire night in his room. Whether or not, my wife Liz or I go in there, I mean, we go to him in his room if things are not okay. But he's officially out of our bed and no longer co-sleeping. We co-slept the entire time up until probably like a month ago. So this, similar with you, I will actually, I'm quick to wake up and quick to fall right back asleep, and my wife might have a little harder time doing that. So I get up and I'll go resettle him and hopefully make it back to the bed. But sometimes I kind of pass out on the floor next to his crib bed, and so that's the season we're in right now, and hopefully in the next 3 months we get him sleeping all the way through the night, just to be interrupted by the next little boy, and that'll be our story and our reality, and we'll have to support each other through it. So
that's good. I'm excited for you. It's amazing. And then what's interesting is 2 is probably difficult. What's interesting is 3, depending on how close it is, or even 4 or 5, you don't really ever, depends on how close you have your kids together. But what happens is, so you basically only have 2 at a time. Like I say, it depends on how young. And then the third one actually starts helping out. At least that's how it was for us. And then even the or excuse me, the first one starts helping out with
Right.
the second one and the third, and a lot
Right.
with the baby. And then, so the two olders now help a ton. Like if our youngest, she needs to go to the bathroom, like I'll ask Audrey, the oldest, or Ella, the next, hey, could you please help out? That way mom doesn't have to, or I don't have to break from work or whatever. And they help out a ton. And then our boy, he helps out. I have him more help me out with certain things. But that's the nice thing about it is for us, we only kind of had two youngs at a time. So you really only have to manage the two little ones. And then once that next one grows, so if you're having more kids, it's like three is not that bad. It's kind of like having two, because now that one can help with certain things and dress, and they can feed themselves. And so anyways,
Yeah.
so you should have more kids. Your wife's like, hold on.
No, I think we both kind of agreed, and it actually it'll still be true on kind of like what you're saying about that, the eldest helping out with the third and beyond. That we were both kind of the opinion, like, hey, let's slow down just a minute, like catch our breath a little bit, because like you said, two under two, and that's going to come with its challenges. So we might slow down for a little bit, but we're also not opposed. My wife really wants a girl, and I would not be upset at all if I had a little baby girl either. So, we're not opposed to it, but we do know that we need to maybe kind of like pump the brakes for a second and kind of
Sure.
get our bearings. So
No,
we'll see what happens.
Crazy. Boys and girls are totally different. I mean, my boy is a boy, and it's so interesting. And girls, because we had two girls, so we thought, well, maybe we're only going to have girls. We have 4 girls, and they're amazing, and boys are amazing, and it's I'm excited for you guys. Having 2 children, it's so crazy, because it helps us grow and be better people. It's like you have to sacrifice even more and like stretch yourself and say, like, who am I in this tough situation? Am I just going to be, Brandon Nielsen, or am I going to step up and be Brandon Nielsen and be the person that my wife expects me to be, and my kids, and show up? So it's amazing. If you want to grow, have some kids, you're going to progress, or start a business. Either have kids or start a business, and you're going to have to grow. You're going to have to learn. You're going to have to progress. So
because you mentioned it earlier about the times that you would go and watch your kids or be with your kids. And I'm assuming that like your wife would need to be somewhere else. And so it's just you and the kiddos. What's more difficult, growing your business or taking care of your any 3, 4, 5 kids, wherever you were at that point in time?
Well, I think, with the kids, I know my wife is going to come and rescue me at some point.
Oh, man.
So I've always got an out. If I were to have to watch my kids for a whole week by myself, and bless those guys and those gals who are widows, widowers, and been divorced, my gracious, like, it's so nice to have a companion. And I don't know, I've only experienced for probably like one day at a time. But I would say because in business, for me, it's kind of like I must provide. It's like if this doesn't work, it means that I'm going to go and get like a job or 2 jobs or 3 jobs. I don't care. That's my mentality. Like, I am going to make sure that my wife, my sweetheart, and my kids are provided for. So I would say, I think actual entrepreneurship is maybe a little bit more difficult than taking care of the kids. Because like I said, I don't know. I can't really compare it, because being an entrepreneur, like, it's now it's great. But back in the day, it's like
Yeah.
What in the world? What was I doing, right? I felt like a failure.
So this is perfect now, because I have blackmail that I can send your wife and let her know that you think entrepreneurship is way harder than taking care of the kids.
She knows how hard it is. She knows she knew my struggles. She was there with me.
Yeah. I love it. Well, that's good. Um, hey, I mentioned earlier FHL, and
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, but I've still got like a little bit of a lingering cough. I got so sick on the back
Oh,
end of
yeah, you're
FHL. Did
saying
you
that.
did you end up catching that?
No, I have, like, if you look behind me, I guess over this shoulder, that's just, I have like a whole like natural pharmacy. And so I have a couple of tricks that I use anytime I'm about to get sick. In fact, just like 2 weeks ago, I was just feeling a doozy coming on. And I usually take a couple of really cool things. So anytime, in fact, my kids have asked me, especially my second daughter, she's like, Dad, what's up? You never get sick. How do you do that? And now I've, of course, shared those secrets with them. And we're going to be traveling here in a couple weeks for spring vacation. And so one thing we're doing is constantly making sure the kids get healthy. But I didn't get any of that. Thank goodness. I heard that a lot
Yeah.
of people did get kind of slammed, but no, I was good. And I have some pretty cool things to take that I've learned over the years that work really well with my body. And I can usually, if I can catch it within that first about 24 hours, I'm golden. And I
So
feel
are they like trade secrets
no,
or
no, not at all. There's one product that I use that's Flu Immune, or it's sold in many different brands, but Flu Immune. I'm trying to think of the name. There's Flu Immune, there's Oscillococcinum, and there's one called Immunity Boost. So whenever I usually do like a trifecta. I usually try to take a homeopathic, an
Mhm.
herbal, and then I'll usually try to take a nutritional supplement depending on the symptoms. And the Immunity Boost is an herbal tincture, and I take that one, and then I take another one that's like Flu Immune, and it's a homeopathic, and then I'll usually add something depending on how I'm feeling. Maybe some other homeopathics, but no, it's totally not trade secret. In fact, I teach that, and I will want people to know, because as far as for you, if you got a lingering cough, then some of the things that I would recommend is for lingering coughs, usually I use a product called Permalung, and that kind of reopens up the bronchial airways and makes sure you clean out the crud. There's a product called Pneumotrophin, PMG, and then I would check and see, like, is it a dry cough? Is it it sounds like kind of, it's like just a dry nagging cough, from what I've heard of just kind of clearing your throat and stuff. And so then I'd usually add like a homeopathic to that. So the one was an herbal tincture, the other was a nutritional supplement. And I'm just looking over at my homeopathics, but I'd probably add some type of homeopathic. And then I may actually have you do like a nebulizer, do nebulize like a colloidal silver or something to actually clear things
Yeah.
out. And usually we can knock coughs out, even if people have had them for a really long, long time. But yeah, there's a whole ton of things that I do. So
Man, so first off, I just want to like uh thank you, and like I'm holding my microphone right now. This is, by the way, how professional are we, right? I'm holding
it's
my microphone,
fine.
but I want to like clap my hands and like say like thank you. Man, like that approach to like health and healing is so it's so like refreshing. It's like radically different. I'm a chronic asthmatic, and so I've had it since I was born. And the reason I was like, oh, you mentioned nebulizer, and I was like, yeah, I know a nebulizer. Like, it was albuterol. It's like albuterol my entire life, right? But
Right.
like, there's pros and cons to all that. I mean, it's essentially a steroid, right?
It
And
is. Yeah.
it's like it helps, and then it's not like fixing, right? And
Right.
what my understanding is, like, you make these kind of like cocktails of like tinctures and nutrition and things like that in order to like actually boost the health
Right.
of
Right.
not
You
just
want
you, but
your
like sounds like
right.
you recommend patients too, right? So you boost their health.
Oh yeah, that's all I do. So I did my first doctorate in chiropractic. I did a second doctorate in naturopathic medicine. So basically, I see anybody. My oldest patient right now is 100. She'll turn 101 this year. My grandma, she's actually my patient. And my youngest patient, well, it's usually as soon as they are born, or I've even helped delivered babies. And, I've got there's a couple of, I'm just thinking of at least one or two that are about to deliver soon. I've got a gal right now, any day she could be delivering. And so oftentimes my earliest or youngest patients are 0 years old, right? Like
Right.
minutes, hours, days old. And so the thing that we do is we treat the body naturally in place of like a drug, or a pharmaceutical medicine, and it's been amazing. It's beautiful, and to be able to be empowered, where you recognize like I actually don't have to do albuterol. I can get to the root cause and find out like what is it that's causing the asthma, because asthma is kind of like a cover diagnosis, I call it. But we have to get to the root cause and find out why the asthma, and then why hasn't your body been able to break that? And so that's kind of what I do in investigative and natural medicine, is getting to the root cause and seeing if we can help your body heal itself. Because sometimes people are like, Dr. Nielsen, you're a healer. And I'm like, yeah, that's Jesus. I facilitate healing, but I'm going to help you, but you and Jesus, like you're going to heal your body. And obviously you and I can speak that and say it's the healing happens through God and his power, but it's you and it's not me. I'm just going to facilitate that. So I'm going to give you certain nutritional supplements and homeopathy and different herbs and tinctures and stuff so that your body can do the work of healing.
Yeah. Wow. We're in so much agreement and alignment on that. Jesus is the healer. I mean, like, if you were the healer, how did you conjure up all the ingredients you need? Where did those come from? Not from you, right? It's like
Exactly.
he's the author, he's the creator. So
Right.
yeah, you're
I
literally
completely
just
agree.
pointing and directing and guiding people to plug in to the solutions that God's already provided for us.
Amen. For sure.
That's amazing. I love
Preach it,
that.
brother. Preach it.
Who, me? No, you go. So on top of this, I mentioned that there was kind of like there's a thing that I was reading. I was looking for your website, and then you kind of explained like where you're at in your business and how you're helping other clinicians kind of like grow their practices and stuff. There was something on one of your clinicians' websites, and I want to read it out loud, just
Okay.
because it's so interesting to me. It's this section on Dr. Patterson's website, and at the
Okay.
very bottom it says closing remarks, and it's almost like this like I mean, there's all these like perks, benefits, reasons, like as and solutions as to like why you'd want chiropractic and holistic wellness and other things like that. But then at the very bottom, it's like the 1-2 punch of like get in here and like and get healed, get fixed, find your solution. Like it, dude. He just comes in with the book slam, and he's just like book case
Really?
shut and
I
closed, the
haven't.
mic
I don't
drop.
think I've ever read it, so I'm interested to see what it is.
Okay, because afterward, I'm gonna ask you, because I know that these aren't your words, so maybe we just need to like talk through it and kind of unpack
Yeah.
it. But I mean,
Yeah. Let's
man,
check it
I've
out.
got questions. So what he says at the end is he says, closing remarks. We are all energetic beings having a mortal experience. As such, it takes energy to move negative energy out. Sometimes a patient may become tired or have an increase in symptoms for a day or two after an energy healing session. Then the patient's symptoms begin to dissipate or even go away. If we can open up our mind to the idea that we are just a bunch of atoms put together, 99.99999 repeating percent space filled with electrons floating around in that space, then we open ourselves up to a world of new possibilities. Possibilities that Western medicine can't always explain. In these possibilities, we can find healing and a sense of wholeness as we embark on our healing path. We hope to join you in your healing. In helping you move forward in your healing journey. Okay, on a scale of we'll call it like 1 to 100, how much of that do you like agree with, back up, or support or endorse in that statement?
So I back up 99% of it. There's only one phrase that I wouldn't back up, and because I actually teach a technique called emotional stress release, and so I agree with 99% of it, and there's only the one phrase that I don't agree with is what's called energy healing, and the reason why I don't use that ever is because I don't know what it is, and so many people. It's interesting, but there's like a thing called positive psychology and different actual medicine. And because I teach, I always have to keep it in a certain realm of scientific backing, if you will,
Sure.
to where if somebody came in, they could actually. I try to make things duplicatable, replicatable. Now, what he's saying is true. So maybe it's like more like 99 point. There's just that one little phrase. So energy healing. What's interesting about that phrase is energy healing. I don't know what that means, right? So where's the energy coming from? Are you pushing the energy with your hands? Is the person, and the reason why I don't ever use that phrase is because people will say, oh, do you do energy healing? And I'm like, well, what is that? And some people call crystals energy healing. And some people call like muscle testing, the modality of muscle testing, energy healing. And some people may say electrical stim is energy healing. It's all energy, but just that phrase energy healing in this area, I don't know if it's throughout the US, but in this area, It kind of got a little bit of a bad rap because people were doing things that were kind of a little bit weird, like type spiritual weirdness kind of. And they called it energy healing.
Right.
And so I always shy away from that one phrase. It sounds like he's comfortable with it, and that's kind of my take on it. But I am very, very cautious about using that phrase because none of what I do is what some people call energy healing. Is it energy? Yeah, everything is energy, right? Or the Chinese call it qi or ki, inner qi. Yeah. But other than that, absolutely. It's phenomenal when you look at when people have these spontaneous healings. Well, how did that happen? Well, obviously energy moved. But so I'm just cautious with that phrase. I never call it energy. And I'm glad that this can go out to the world because I don't ever use that phrase because, to be honest, it's this whole gamut of who knows what. And so I just don't, I just always, I keep to this kind of same true and use if it's emotional stress release, that's what I do. You're just releasing emotional stress, right? Or if it's chiropractic, well, that's that. It's adjusting. And so I just kind of try to call it what it is and not get into the, because even people they say energy healing, that's like using spirits to heal you. And I'm like, what? I don't know. So I'm just kind of well, I don't know what this, and that's not what he does, right? That's not what he does at all. All he does is a modality that's, I'm assuming it's just I think he uses basically muscle testing and just releasing stress. Kind of but it's nothing with what some people would call energy healing. So other than that, I totally agree with it. It's a great statement.
Well, the entire statement fascinated me, and I'll explain the fascination aspect of it. But the part that I really loved is opening up the latter. It's basically the latter half of the statement. It's opening up our mind to the idea that we're just a bunch of atoms, 99.9% of space with just a bunch of electrons floating around. And if we open ourselves up to a world of possibilities, the miraculous can happen. Is essentially kind of what he's saying here.
I completely agree with that, 100%.
Yeah. So the reason why I was, not just digging around, kind of finding stuff out, but when I saw this and read this, energy healing, the entire reason I know that there's this woo abstract ambiguous side of the phrase energy healing is because I used to binge chiropractic videos on YouTube, and I mean probably since I was 16 or 17 years old, I would fall asleep to them, and it would be massage technique like petrissage, florissage, and chiropractic and scapular release and just all this stuff. I
Yeah.
always tell my wife that if I never like if Todd wasn't my brother-in-law and I never met Russell, I would probably be a chiropractor.
Really?
Which is
Wow, that's
yeah.
cool.
So I ended up having this like this fascination with it. Um, you know what? It's weird. I'm not 100% why, but I do like the idea that you know, like pain and discomfort are things that you can physiologically remedy because someone
Uh-huh.
and I'm also somebody who can't help but help people, and so I love the idea that like someone's not feeling right, someone slept wrong, like okay, well there's steps we can take to alleviate or completely remedy those things that you're feeling. I very much resonate with that, but then also the videos were just I won't even call them entertaining because it's not entertainment. It's literally just my weird fascination with wanting to watch people make these adjustments
Yeah,
online. So
that's
yeah,
cool. I didn't
I'm
know
basically
that.
like a
That's
YouTube chiropractor.
That's awesome. I love it. You probably know how to do it. It's funny because one of my nephews, he used to work for me. He's like, "Don't worry, I can adjust you. I used to work for a chiropractor." And he one time he hurt his brother, and his brother's like, "Uncle B, Uncle B, can
Mhm.
you please help me? Jake, he hurt me." He said he used
Yeah.
to work for a chiropractor. Now he hurt me. So he's like a YouTube chiropractor, but chiropractor, anyways. But
No,
that's pretty cool.
I would never go and actually try to do something. I mean, you can do some serious damage.
Yeah.
Um, so it's really important to go. Actually, you know what's ironic? I learned that a ton of chiropractors will go and get their doctorate down in Puerto Rico because the license. I think there's like a thing with the licensure down there where you basically just need to like have attended the school or not exactly like
Oh wow.
um, have all your like papers or licensure or anything like that. And so basically you can claim the title of doctorate or like doctorate of chiropractic and then come
Wow.
back to the United States and practice.
Are you
Um,
serious?
but you could have totally flunked the school.
Oh
It's
no.
something to that tune. And
Huh.
it's just like, man, that's crazy to me. Like imagine a surgeon doing that and then taking someone under and putting a scalpel to their chest. Like,
Uh,
oh, that's insane.
seriously. But yeah, so that's
Um,
that's cool. But as far as that statement, yeah, I definitely it's amazing what I'll tell you this, the more I've the longer I've practiced, it's kind of interesting. I can tell how far people are going to progress,
mhm.
and it's like I can't take them. Sometimes people are like come in and they're like I want to be healed, and I'm kind of like, but the problem is you can't because you won't change. There's certain habits that you do that it won't allow you to heal, and so I take people basically like one or two steps beyond their comfort zone, and it's interesting because I think that sometimes isn't that how God is with us? Sometimes we ask for this immense thing and he's kind of like, yeah, but you're not the person that can receive that yet. You have to be ready. You have to be the vessel to be able to receive that blessing.
Yeah.
But it's full. It's like full with all the other junk that you're doing. You got to become that person so that I can bless you with more. And so it's been interesting. It's fascinating that we can all be healed, but it's usually us that keeps us from healing.
Well, I'm like reminded of it was probably two or three FHLs ago. I it's all a time blur. But like at the end of 2022, I'm pretty sure it was, you know, September or something like that. And we're both out at FHL and you do such an amazing kindness and service to not just the people there running the show, but also a lot of the staff behind the scenes. And I had the privilege of getting an adjustment from you, which was
Cool.
amazing. First of all, but we got probably 3 or 4 minutes into it, and I go, "Hey, just as a heads up, I was in a motorcycle accident earlier this year, and
Hmm.
you know, it's like a month or whatever afterward. It's like I ended up having a surgery, and I've got this like gnarly scar right here,
Hmm.
and you saw it, and it was like my what I vocalized was like, hey, there's a problem area here, so like avoid it. And what you did was you went, oh no, I can help. I help heal. Like I can help facilitate this. Let's attack it. And I mean, honestly, like you got like your Theragun and you got your like massage and you were like do like the first round. You're like, okay, like let's move it around, let's test it, let's see. And I was like, oh wow, it's extremely fluid now. This is great. And you're like, okay, great, we're gonna go even more. And he went for another round, and I was like, hey, we're good. Like, hey, this is good. Like, okay, now we're gonna breathe, we're gonna release, and we can do all this stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this guy, not just like okay, you know that there's so many chiropractors that just like they like crack backs and then like
Yeah.
collect checks and then it's like in and out in 20 minutes. Like you're
Yeah.
just not
I
one of
know
those
that.
guys. And so that's why like I didn't know I would have a podcast all the way back then. I didn't know that we'd have an opportunity like this, but I just, here's an opportunity for me to say thank you for being somebody who doesn't shy away from like inconvenient things and sees a problem. Like this has been a real problem. I went through like really grueling PT in order to get to the point where I
Mhm.
could like do this, right?
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
somebody who just like attacked it in like a good and healthy way. And
Hmm.
like you left an impression on me about that. Like
Hmm.
I'm someone who like likes to try to connect dots and things like that. And so I
Hmm.
recognize that about you. And so when you were like, I push people outside of their comfort zone, I was like, heck yeah, you do.
Well, now that you mention it, I remember that visit actually, and when we had interacted, and I had forgotten about that. But yeah, so that's the thing is like I always like I want so much for people to be able to like I know they have this goal, and sometimes it's kind of like can I don't know, it's gonna hurt or this or that, and a lot of times I just say, you know what, like you're gonna be okay, and if you're okay with it, let's get you to something amazing where a lot of people won't go, and yeah, so I'm glad that worked out, and I go right in there if you know, in fact. Right before this, and that's why I apologize. I was a little bit late, but there was a guy who just broke his collarbone, and I had adjusted him to help him out because, and I couldn't really do much because it was still broken. It's still broken, but now a little bit of time has passed, and my schedule is very busy. And I said I have this little window, and then I was just today was kind of media day. I was just on we were doing a bunch of videos, and then I had this little time in between, and then I was gonna jump on with you, and but yeah, I went in for it, right? And a lot of guys are gonna be like, oh, Fred, surgery, I don't know, I can't do that,
Mhm.
and but when you study the body, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I pray a lot when I see people. I'm sure when I saw you, I was praying so much and asking God to help me out. And so it's like I feel like the Holy Ghost knows all things. God knows all things, and if I can truly put myself in a position to receive that light or inspiration or guidance or revelation, whatever you want to call it, then I feel like I'm going to go for it. In fact, it was
Yeah.
interesting at this past FHL. Speaking of, each day I just try to ask God and just say, hey, Heavenly Father, who can I help today? Like, how can I bless somebody's life? Like, just send somebody. Who is that? Maybe that day it was you. I don't know. But it was the craziest thing. I was at FHL, and this guy, he talked to me about his low back pain. Just this past year, it was remarkable. It's crazy. He's talking to me. He's like, yeah, I've had low back pain. I talked to him because, you're there for like 4 days, and he
Hmm.
had showed me his report, and I was like, yeah, there's some things, this and this. And then I had seen him again, and he's like, is there anything else I could do? And so I was like, I had that kind of thought, like, this is the guy you can help. And I was like, oh, this is the guy I can help. Okay. And interestingly enough, is all of a sudden, so I'm talking to him, and all of a sudden into my mind came this question. And the question, and I feel like it was from God, and it said, ask him what happened when he was 12 years old. I was like, okay, yeah. Anyways, So I asked him
You
that.
know, because you got a number out of it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
ask him what happened at 12 years old. And I'm like, okay. So I ask him, and he's kind of like, oh my gracious, 12 years old is, you don't realize what happened at 12 years old. I was like, I don't. I have
That
no clue.
that's why I'm asking. Yeah. Yeah.
And he said that was like so crazy. He said, my parents got divorced that year, and it was probably the ugliest divorce in history. It was so bad, and it was so tough, and it was horrible. And I basically said, that's your low back pain. And he's like, what? He's like, yeah, but and anyways, I just told him, I said, emotional stressors can show up physiologically. And I talked to him about it, and I showed him a couple of things that I do in the technique. And
Hmm.
I told him kind of where to get help. And it was so cool because I said to him, I said, and we'll just call him Rich and Rusty. No, I'm just joking. It's not even close to his name, but we'll just call him Rich. And I said, Rich, what's interesting though to me about this all is that God is aware of you. Because he told me to ask you about 12, which means that he hasn't forgotten about your back pain, and he actually hasn't forgotten about you. And the guy's like, oh my gracious, right? He was just like, he was so blown away. Like, he came to that realization. He's like, I realized that. Like, and I said, and you're going to overcome your back pain, but you're going to have to get through the mess that happened at 12 years old. So when you say like, yeah, that was a cool experience, I'm so glad it was. And honestly, I think we can all tap into that, and use prayer and be able to help one another, whatever our
Yeah.
gifts and our tools are, whether it's we're helping someone online, whether it's helping somebody face to face. So whoever's listening to this, like, don't give up. There's still answers, and you got this. You can do this. So
I I can't think of a better note to end on for because
okay,
we've been going for a little over an hour now, and
that'll be
I
good.
want to be respectful of your time and also to be a good husband and stay in my role. My wife needs help with getting the grill started. Right, stay in your role. Um, but man, you got done kind of sharing that story and I'm in love with this podcast that I started because now I get the opportunity not just to hear these stories for myself, but to be able to pass them along and get them connected with the people who need to hear them. So to close off, like before we hang up here, I actually just want to read you because you don't really know anything about the podcast. We were sitting up front at FHL, like screaming our heads off to Tony Robbins and having an amazing time. And I was like, "You want to
Right.
come on my podcast?" And you were like, "What podcast?" I was like, "Yeah, come on, let's do it."
Sure. Let's
So
do it.
I want to read you what the podcast is about,
Okay.
um, and we'll close out after this. But yeah. So this is the Better Humans podcast. It's a show where we discuss all the different ways that we're going out and impacting lives, large or small scale, through entrepreneurship and business. Entrepreneurship is the mechanism for our personal growth and change, and our business is how we reach out and help others. Mutual benefit is a must, and transformation is key to unlocking it all. Let's upgrade our lives together, stack powerful habits, and build the lives of our dreams, lifting others up with us along the way.
Wow. That's crazy. I didn't know that. I mean, like, some of the things that we went through, I know. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. That's cool. That's really cool. Yeah, I didn't even know. So I think hopefully this fits your audience well. It sounds like it does.
Yeah, man, I'm I'm proud. Like I can't think of a better guest to have brought on. So, thank you so much. This
You're
has actually been
very
incredible,
welcome.
and I know it's been incredible because I'm walking away with like more questions and like more hunger now for who you are and what you do and how you help and who you help and all that. So I know that I mean we'll find out a good time, but like obviously I'd love a round two if you're open to it. And
Yeah, for sure.
maybe we'll
I
we'll
love it.
get even nerdier and even geekier, is that a word? We'll geek out
Sure.
about more of the helping and healing that you do. So thank you so much. Hey, before we kill off the recording here, what's the best way for someone to get connected with you?
Do you know what? Probably the best way. Like I said, I've just barely started getting back onto social media, so it's not that great of a place. I don't check it, but honestly, if anybody ever wants to get connected with me, I usually have them call my office. We still use phones, and then so just 801 and then 800 and then 2908. So 801 800 2908, and you can just call or text the office if you ever have questions. The office manager will relay everything. In fact, a lot of times I just have her people email that way. But then if you're ever interested in any of the things that we do, you can go to Dr. Nielsen, and that's spelled Nielsen. So Dr. Nielsen seminars.com, drnielsenseminars.com, and that's a good place to find me as well. That's some of the things that we teach, and we're going to be teaching more and more. In fact, I kind of stepping more and more away from seeing patients and teaching more families and doctors kind of what I do and what I've been doing for the past 20 years so that they can be successful in their clinics and practices, so they don't have to go through what I did in my days of trying to figure things out. But that's where you can reach me. And I'm human. I'm just, so don't be shy. Text us. If you want to text, that text works to that number as well. Or you can call, and that's the best way to reach me. And I think we'll go from there. Maybe in the
I love
future
it.
I'll have like my Facebook back up or Instagram and all that. But I guess you can go on YouTube. You could go YouTube and I guess it's youtube.com. Is it /? I think it's / holistic, HOLISTIC, holistic fam, like family. So holistic fam. And that would pull up my YouTube handle. That's where that's where you can find some of my videos. So.
Thanks so much. I appreciate your time. Hopefully we'll catch you on the next episode. And thanks so much for coming on to Better Humans.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.